Hi, I'm Kelsey Anderson with the Tigard Police Department, and if you've never been inside our building, we'd love to give you a tour. The PD is located in the City Hall complex, which was built in the 1980s. Back then, Tigard was 1/3 its current size. It was home to 15 or 20,000 people. That number is more than 55,000 today. Our lobby is open 7 days a week and serves many purposes. It's a small space, which can be a concern if a victim and suspect are asked to come in for interviews on the same case. This is also where people who have been recently released from jail come to get their property back, which can sometimes create a safety issue for our property and evidence team. People in the community may come in to speak with an officer or get a copy of a report, and we also have free resources on the wall for you to take home, covering crime prevention tips, annual reports, and more. This is one of our 2 interview rooms where officers can meet with crime victims, witnesses, or suspects. When not used for interviews, it can double as workspace for officers making phone calls and taking reports. Down the hall is home to our record specialists, who do a lot of data entry and case file management. They make sure our police reports get to the DA's office for court proceedings, interface with other law enforcement agencies, and process records requests. They are also the people you'll speak with when you come into the police lobby. Due to constraints in the locker room, they sometimes use this half bath as a changing area. You may not realize it, but police officers spend a lot of time writing reports for the calls they respond to throughout the day. Our officers don't have their own dedicated workspaces, so they share this report writing room. And these computers are also where they download their body-worn camera video. During an overlap between shifts, the room gets pretty full. Next to it is our briefing room, which is truly a multi-purpose space and our only large room. It's where everyone gathers for the latest information when officers are coming on shift, so they know what to expect during the day. But it's also where people eat lunch, take breaks, hold trainings and meetings, and where we have swearing-in ceremonies or employee recognition events. On any given day, you may see officers taking reports at the back desk, or on a rare occasion, cleaning their firearm here. Our property and evidence team has grown from 2 people to 3, with a workload for 4 or 5, so they share desks in this space. When it comes to storing evidence, this is our only on-site space, which doesn't have room for much. In the most serious cases, we are required to keep evidence for several decades, and every year we pay tens of thousands of dollars to rent 2 off-site storage spaces. This is the processing room where officers turn in evidence and individual pieces are marked and sealed. Most of our officers come to work in their street clothes and get dressed for the day in the locker room. The men's space has lockers that are too small to fit vests, so those hang outside. We issue more gear today than even 20 years ago, and it's all kept here since officers don't take it home. We have more than 50 men who are sworn officers and may share this space. The women's locker room is much smaller. Due to space constraints, there's not enough room for every woman in the department to have a locker, so they are limited to sworn officers only. We have more than 10 officers who are women, plus several support staff. And one of the issues here and in other places throughout the building is water leaks that happen from time to time, sometimes getting an officer's personal items or assigned gear wet. Around the corner, this is the office space for our 6 patrol sergeants. They are direct supervisors for the officers out in the community. Because this is a shared space, if a supervisor needs to do coaching or have a sensitive conversation with an officer, it can be a challenge. Our crime analyst has an office next door and supports patrol by finding patterns, identifying people, and sharing information with other law enforcement agencies. This is the office for our 2 patrol lieutenants who represent the next line of supervision. They face the same challenge for having private conversations and use headphones for competing meetings. As lieutenants, they focus on a broader scope of supervision and overall programs. You can tell the building was added onto over the years. This portion was added in the 1990s. Beyond it, this is the only conference room in the department, which is used primarily by the chief for internal meetings, but it also serves as a space for job interviews, training, and onboarding new officers. The chief's office is next door, along with spaces for community engagement, public information, the department's business manager, and 2 commanders. This used to be the office just for our school resource officers, one of whom is also the police union president. But this partition was recently installed, so our professional standards sergeant can have half the space. That is the person who handles internal affairs and complaints. The wall helps with privacy, but if he's on a sensitive phone call or conducting an interview, the school resource officers will be asked to leave. At the end of the hallway, this is the space for our detectives in the Criminal Investigation Unit. Here we have a sergeant, 5 detectives, and an administrative specialist. These are the investigators who work on the most serious crimes against people. They primarily use this interview room. One of the issues throughout the building is it's not soundproof, so when this room is being used, a red light in the hallway comes on, signaling that people in nearby offices need to be quiet. If a criminal suspect is being interviewed, they must walk through most of the building to get into this space. Behind it is our holding facility, which can be used for up to 4 hours before a person is taken to the Washington County Jail in Hillsborough. Mostly it's used for people suspected of DUI who give breath samples through this machine. Due to the building design, it doesn't allow for direct observation of those in custody, but video monitoring is in use. The holding facility opens directly into the Sally Port, which was meant for officers to drive a person in custody inside. It doubles as a small workout space, training area, and includes a small room for cleaning firearms. However, with the open air, it's very cold in the winter and very hot in the summer. Outside, we use this open-air shed for storage for the motorcycles our traffic team uses, along with ATVs for trail patrols and other training equipment. There are 2 modular buildings that were installed as temporary structures back in 1992. They were only intended to have a lifespan of a few years, but are still in use today. One houses our traffic safety unit, including 1 sergeant, several officers, a community service officer, and 1 administrative specialist. On the other side of the space, there's a room where officers can rest. For instance, if a person works overnight but has court in a few hours, they can take a nap here rather than going home. This is also where our background investigators have desk space as they evaluate new potential hires. As you can see, it also provides some storage space. The second mod is mostly record storage, but is also used for laser shot, which is a simulated scenario-based training tool for officers. The department is looking at converting this mod to a dedicated training space. With limited space, one of our detective units is housed outside of the police department altogether, on the backside of the city's permit center. This room, which was converted from a printing plotting room, is home to our commercial crimes unit. Here, a sergeant and 3 detectives primarily work commercial robbery and theft investigations. It's not ideal for collaborating on cases and means detectives sometimes have to walk pieces of evidence out in the weather to get to the property and evidence team.
You can see we work hard to maximize the space we have, even though it sometimes impacts our efficiency. You can learn more about your Tigard Police Department on social media or online at tigard-or.gov/police.